14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22.
All right. I just got back from
So you tell him what?
Oh, yes, yes.
in Colombia.
Oh, yes.
No, I'm saying.
No, I just got it. Okay.
I just need to sound.
What?
Yes, for they're gonna bring actually in after a few hours at the very least. There's nothing. One camera. It's spreading rumors.
Those guys in a few weeks. All the Jeter fans are asked by the Excuse me, ma'am, are you in the wrong courtroom?
I think so, sir.
How you doing?
I'm good, ma'am. Are you?
Good.
I'm doing great.
Better early.
2 inches. No, but I do want I'm starting taking classes. You got a little workout?
I don't mind driving. I like how you get around.
You know on the way home.
On the way here, no, the safety's it makes me crazy. That sounds like my wife. My wife would rather take the long way. At least you're moving. Yeah. I'm
Judy.
Yes, love.
They're not letting anybody sit on the front row.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you told me nothing more than because I had issues with, I guess, stress fracture. But then that's too bad because he was, yeah, but he was sequences and then the platform is too. I think I busted my ankle. It's not.
No, I'm looking at, she has to have an oxygen mask because her head's so high in the clouds and air's a little thin up there. Damn! Yeah.
They're cute though.
I'm going
I would want my ankle.
I'm gonna go get the jury pulling down here about 5-10 minutes. What you want? Just too much of that. Oh yeah, no, you got time. Don't worry about it. Yeah, you're cool.
I'm just making sure that, you know, because I forgot to turn it off, so you want to take a look at pieces. And I didn't bring it to my room. I just left it.
Keep it out.
I think she went. So let's let them. Oh, okay. Let's sit downstairs.
System stuff you had off today. Everything else you want to go through now. Would you have a plan for now? Same.
watching it, and I'm like, that's not Murphy's name. I was like, you can go to Georgetown. Hey, how are you?
She doesn't ask me everything she said about Judy cleaned it up for me. No, that's not what you said. I'll let you slide. I know you're a slip for it.
You say what's in the back?
Oh, you was me.
She had a she's in the back right here.
Yeah. I didn't even mess with that.
And like, she doesn't. I just say, don't tell Ralph I'm drinking all the water. He sees all those though. It's like, you didn't even see him there. He's like a ninja.
There was somebody here this morning though. There was something going on.
Anyway. Because whatever did it, they had to, the dentist, sometimes they I think they get one for everything.
I know they had ceremony got done, but no, she called me. But I don't know.
So I don't know what it is you want to do. You want to do. You want to move now, later?
Okay. I just need that just to know. Yeah.
Just trying to realize it's affecting my hands because I started using gloves when I put it on. you said like the last week, my hands are drying out and drying out and drying out. Yes, it's possible it could be something else, but I'm thinking it could be. I use it all the time.
I don't use this all the time. I put it like on my wrist.
Yeah, it's a lot better than the spray. It works better than the spray too. So you can just, it's not bothering me, that doesn't matter. But I started noticing my hands were drying out. I think that's what you contributed to it.
Oh, they probably because of the menthol or something maybe.
No, I mean, it works great.
Thanks.
Refocus on that.
Other
We're
ones.
ready to go forward, right? Defendant is present. Any last thing to bring up before we bring in the jury?
That is the matter, Judge.
Okay.
If you recall, I'm sure you do, the state called the witness, Alexis Anderson. Summary of her testimony was that she was present when the car was being rented for her, which she then turned over to Mr. Rivera and Mr. Wardlow, the Pathfinder, which is identified as being involved in the offense. Her testimony was that Mr. Rivera personally drove that Pathfinder out of the Hertz rent-a-car location, and that Mr. Rivera later personally returned that car to Hertz.
Not just that they came and picked it up.
She said they came and picked it up, but she said Mr. Rivera drove it away from Hertz.
Okay.
Which is extremely important because the state has invoked the principle, instruction 777 in this case, so that alone would be enough to demonstrate arguably Mr. Rivera's principle to the offense that later occurs because he's picking up the vehicle which is used to drive all from over there. The defense had asked for a Richardson hearing saying that we were never informed that Ms. Alexander's testimony would materially differ from the testimony of two other witnesses, Rosemary and Romaine Johnson, mother and daughter, same last name, that had testified previously in statements as well as in statements and depositions that they had seen Mr. Rivera drive Mr. Wardlow to the Hertz dealership, that Mr. Rivera had driven him there, but they never saw Mr. Rivera drive the Pathfinder, and that Mr. Rivera did not return the Pathfinder. So, huge difference. The state's response to that was that, and we cited some case law to the board already, that we believe that an oral statement made to prosecutors that materially alters the testimony of another witness is a discovery violation of not disclosing. The state said yes, but their answer was we did disclose it. They produced that disclosure from May, I believe, 2008. I may have my year wrong. That's when I asked for time to contact Mr. Kramer. The court continued the matter. Mr. Kramer came and said, I did receive it. I withdrew it at that time. The state provided us the CD that was discussed. Well, we had a chance to watch the CD, and I'm going to play it. It's in the record in a moment, Judge, if I may, if the court will allow it. And in the CD, Ms. Alexander does not indicate that she saw Mr. Rivera drive the Pathfinder, and she does not indicate that Mr. Rivera returned the Pathfinder. Interestingly, she does indicate in the CD, when she's being questioned out by police officers, by Mr. Rubin himself, that she had an off-tape conversation with Mr. Rubin before giving the statement. So our allegations can be that Mr. Rubin, the state of Florida, were aware that she was going to testify that she saw Mr. Rivera behind the wheel of the Pathfinder, and that Mr. Rivera returned the Pathfinder, and that that information was withheld from the defense, materially prejudicing Mr. Rivera in the defense of this case in preparation for the defense judge. At this time, I would ask to proffer that so you can hear for yourself how it differs from what you heard on the stand yesterday or the day before.
Judge, well, to begin with, my recollection, I thought we resolved this issue the other day. My recollection of the two Johnsons' testimony is that neither one of them said that either Wardlow or Rivera drove the car off the lot. And Alexia Anderson's CD statement from years ago, which I don't remember precisely, said they drove the car off the lot. The discussion about Eric Rivera returning the car from the lot, I think she just said in response to the defense attorney's cross-examination. She'd been protective of him all along. She probably didn't want to discuss that. When we were here on the witness stand under oath, she told the truth about it. So there were inconsistencies about it all along, but the big difference between the Johnsons saying that neither of them drove the car off the lot and Alexia Anderson saying that they did has been out in discovery for a long time.
Well, Judge, if that's the state's position, unless someone else was present for the unrecorded conversations with Ms. Anderson, I would ask to call Mr. Rubin as a witness to have a place under oath, because he had those discussions directly with her off tape. And I want to make a record as to whether he was aware that she was going to testify. She saw Eric Rivera drive that Pathfinder, and that Eric Rivera returned that Pathfinder.
And if I may, every other witness that gave a recorded statement to either Mr. Rubin or Detective Segovia or both of them, every other witness had their statement transcribed and provided to defense counsel. This was the only witness who gave a recorded statement that was not transcribed, and the disc was not provided to her.
The disc, you could do it on a second, but the disc has been available for a long time. The reason the statement was done somewhat differently is that we were at FDLE. It wasn't done by the police department from the Miami-Dade Police Department. It was just the way it happened rather quickly with an FDLE agent being present.
Your Honor, with the law, they cited last year State versus Evans, which started citing Jones versus State, and Meyer versus State. All those cases stand for the proposition that there is a discovery violation if it involves an anticipated change in the witness's testimony from the initial statement. There's nothing here that shows an anticipated change, number one, that we knew about. Number two, they had the statement. The fact that they didn't get it, they should have gone to the court file. They didn't have that pleading. I don't know why they didn't go to the court file and double check to make sure they had gotten everything from the defense counsel. We absolutely provided them with the discovery. There's no requirement for us to have it transcribed. They certainly had the ability to do that. We don't have to do their work for them. They didn't do their work on this particular witness. They could have impeached her if they had done that with those statements. If they didn't do that, that's not our fault. It's not a discovery violation. Now, as far as it goes, they can call those witnesses if they want to. They can call her back if they want to and impeach her. Nothing's stopping them from doing that. They have that availability to do that. They can go ahead and, though they're not listed, they're not going to object. They want to call those two witnesses, the mother and the daughter, to impeach her. They can do that. They can call her back and try to impeach her and give her the opportunity to explain what was on the tape.
I'm glad.
Are you agreeing with their interpretation, though, of the discovery?
No, not at all. I don't believe we have a discovery violation because there's no anticipated change in the witness's statement. The statement.
They're saying that it conflicts with another witnesses.
No, it conflicts with her own, too, Judge. I'll play it for you. It conflicts with her own. Mr. Rubin was aware she was going to say that Eric Rivera was driving the car. She doesn't even say it in this statement. She doesn't say it in this statement. She's never said it in anything that has been provided to any defense attorneys, and it was purposefully done. Let's use common sense here. This is a major issue in this case. It was a sandbagging movement by Mr. Rubin. He had a personal conversation with this witness. You'll hear him talk about it on the CD. Did he seem surprised when she said that? That's why I want him placed under oath, Judge. That's the position they're going to take. But they weren't aware.
At some point, I did know that she was going to say that he drove the car off the lot. That is true.
Why would you tell us that?
There have been so many discussions with attorneys over the years that I do not precisely recall. However, the discovery was available. She's been subject to deposition for the return of the car. I don't remember ever discussing with her before. And in any event, she has said from the get-go that they drove the car off the lot. So the defense has been...
In that case, she said they drove the car off the lot, that those like the plural they, referring to two of the defendants that have shown up.
Well, why don't I play it for you, Judge? It's not very long. Yeah,
I believe it's at the tail end.
I'll ask the court reporter if it's not loud enough to let me know so that we make sure we get this.
We'll mark that as an exhibit anyway. So those that look at this behind me.
Since you've been here, I've asked you some questions.
sentence, you have you use the word they instead of he. You can laugh all you want, but it's not a material difference. The two of them are in the car, and Mr. Rubin, in a leading question, used the word.
Notice he purposely didn't say which one was driving. That was the obvious
Counsel, I
question.
don't appreciate the accusation. A, she's never wanted to testify against him. You can see that from her demeanor, and you can hear that in the statement. B, I believe she did say they at the time. At some point later, she did say he. Next, he drives up in his car. He doesn't leave in his own car, and that's what's in the statement. So he's abandoned his car. Charles and Eric Rivera lead in that black car. One of them's got to be driving the car. Why nobody would have deposed her, I don't know. But she's never wanted to testify against him, and she's reluctantly come here and finally told the truth about it. With regard to the return of the car, which is in response to the defense question, I didn't even ask her about that.
And frankly, Judge, I don't know why there's no deposition. If there had been a deposition by the defense, it could have been determined who they was. Specifically, he did not, but they never chose to depose her.
Standard, Judge.
That's the state's requirement to depose for them. It's not a material difference.
We'll get a copy of that CD for a court exhibit as it relates to this Richardson inquiry.
Judge, I would also point out it's 7 days before the crime, 6 days before the crime, regardless of who drove out. And if I remember correctly, if Rosemary Johnson were called, she has seen him driving a car that she's rented before, and or it's been rented for him.
For Charles, not for you.
I believe I have not looked at their statements recently, but I think that she said that she's rented a car for him before. That's all the top of my head I have to look at.
All right, I've heard testimony of Ms. Anderson of Rose, right?
Alexia Anderson.
And I've heard her brief statement on the CD. You get our phone back? You get our phone back?
All present and accounted for, Judge.
Proceed, please. That comes my jury, my revocation jury. You all follow my instructions last night?
Yes.
Thank you. State, may I call your next witness?
State Call Sergeant Art Gonzalez.
Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. All right, have a seat here, sir. If you would, there's a microphone speak into it so we can all hear you.
Pardon me.
And when you're ready, Mr. Romney, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes, my name is Arturo Gonzalez Jr.
How are you employed?
As a patrol sergeant at the City of Fort Myers.
How long have you been with the City of Fort Myers?
Approximately 17 to 18 years.
What is your current rank and assignment there?
I'm a patrol sergeant.
I want to draw your attention back to November 29th and 30th of 2007. How were you employed back then?
I was employed as an officer.
With the same department?
Correct, yes, sir.
Did there come a point in time when you attended a briefing or met with homicide detectives from the Miami-Dade Police Department?
Yes.
When you met with the detectives, who else was present?
Myself, Officer Aaron Olson, Officer Candace Katasha, her name was Candace Durr back then, Lieutenant Jeff Bernice, Special Agent Mike Walsh, who at that time was with Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and several other law enforcement personnel.
After attending that meeting or that briefing, did there come a point in time when you headed out to try and locate certain individuals?
Yes.
What was your objective in trying to locate those individuals?
To attempt to locate them and see if they would come back voluntarily.
Were you heading out to arrest any particular person?
No.
Were you heading out to take anyone into custody that day?
No.
Did there come a point in time when you came into contact with some of the individuals that you were looking for?
Yes.
How did that come about?
We received information via the police radio advising that one of the gentlemen was in a van, and we were ordered to stop that van.
Did you yourself personally stop the van?
Yes, I did.
Who was riding in the car with you?
Special Agent Mike Walsh.
Was it a marked police vehicle?
Yes.
Were you in uniform at the time?
Yes, I was.
How did you proceed to stop the vehicle?
By activating my lights.
Did the van pull over?
Yes.
Did you notice or had you noticed whether the van had committed any sort of infraction?
I remember a minor traffic infraction. I believe it was equipment related.
I'm sorry, did you say equipment related?
Yes.
Did you ever end up issuing any sort of a ticket for that infraction?
I think I wrote a warning. It would have been on a city ordinance. Different.
Do you recall, though, whether you did or not?
No.
Once the van was stopped, what happened next?
I approached the driver's side and I requested the driver's license, insurance, and registration, and we confirmed that one of the people was in the van.
As you were approaching the vehicle, were there any other police cars that arrived on the scene?
Yes.
What police cars arrived?
Officer Olson and Officer, I call her Katasha, but back then it was Derek. She was behind us.
Do you recall where these cars positioned themselves in relation to the van that had been stopped?
It was the van, me, and then Officer Olson and Katasha behind me.
Did any of the vehicles that arrived pull in front of the van or block their exit?
No.
When you approached the vehicle, did you have your weapon drawn?
No.
Did any of the officers that were present have their weapons drawn?
Not that I saw.
You approached the driver's side of the vehicle. What did you do next?
I asked the driver for his license, and then I returned back to my car.
show you what's removed in evidence as State Exhibit number 31. Is that what's displayed here?
Yes, sir. That's a sliding glass door.
Long here?
Yes.
Did you notice any damage to any other portion of the house?
Yes, there was also damage to a back door area, also facing the pool, back patio area of the house.
And so these were the things that you were investigating.
Yes, sir.
And did you become designated as the lead investigator?
I was.
As the lead investigator, did you interview family members?
Yes, I did.
Did that include Sasha Johnson?
Yes.
Why did you talk to Sasha Johnson?
Sasha was not only the victim's sister, she also resided at that house. She lived there. So it was one of the starting points to where we wanted, to get information.
What kind of information did you ask her about?
Well, I wanted to get background.
I'm just asking him what he asked her for the moment.
Just saying. I'm sorry, go ahead. Don't tell me what she said, just what you asked.
Yes, Your Honor. I wanted to find out who lived at the house, who frequented the house, who was there often, who had access to the house. I wanted to know if the victim had any problems that she knew of with anybody, if there was any problems or any issues that he was having.
All right. Besides that, so were you interested in who had visited the house?
Yes, very much so.
Without getting into detail about what she told you, did she give you information about that?
Yes, she did.
In addition to the information that you received from Sasha Johnson and other family members, did you make any other efforts to try to determine who had come to the home of Sean Taylor that night?
Yes, I did.
And what were they?
I did what's called a tower dump of the tower nearest to the victim's house.
And what is that?
A tower dump basically is I request any incoming or outgoing telephones that ping off the tower nearest to the victim's house for whatever time period you requested, from whatever time to whatever time on whatever dates. And it'll give you every number, either incoming or outgoing, that pinged off that tower.
And at that time, how long was that after the homicide roughly?
Not even a day later we started doing that.
And did you get cell site tower information?
Yes, I did.
And did that relate to any people who had visited the house?
Yes.
And who was that?
Jason Mitchell.
All right, I'll just move on. So did you get cell site tower information?
Yes, I did.
Based on the cell site tower information that you received, and based on information that you received from Sasha Johnson, did you make a decision to continue your investigation anyplace else in the kingdom?
Yes.
And where was that?
Fort Myers, Florida.
Was that within your jurisdiction?
No, that's a couple counties away. It's not our jurisdiction.
You were with the Miami-Dade Police Department?
Yes, sir.
Do you have county-wide jurisdiction?
I have county-wide jurisdiction only in Miami-Dade County.
Do you have statewide jurisdiction?
No.
So when you had to go to Fort Myers, what county was that in?
That's in Lee County.
Did you want to get help from local law enforcement there?
Absolutely.
Was an effort made to contact an agency there?
Yes.
And what agency was that?
We contacted FDLE, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
And are they the largest agency in the state of Florida?
They are.
Do they have statewide jurisdiction?
Yes, sir.
Does that mean they can go anywhere?
Yes, sir.
Why did you all contact them?
There were several reasons. One of them was we knew several of the people that worked in that office just from working in the past on other cases. Number two, it happened to be that they have an office actually in Fort Myers, so it was very convenient. Number three, like you mentioned earlier, they have statewide jurisdiction, so they can go anywhere. And I know they have the manpower, so it was just an easy, obvious transition to call FDLE.
All right. Did you travel to Fort Myers?
Yes, sir.
And when did you travel there?
On the 29th of November of 2007.
So that's 3 days after the homicide.
That's correct.
Did you go by yourself?
No, my team and a few other members of the Homicide Bureau went as well.
When you arrived at FDLE, at some point in time, did you talk with members of that agency?
Yes, sir.
And did there come a point in time when there was a briefing?
Yes.
Did you participate in the briefing?
Yes, sir.
Did you give them any instructions?
Yes.
What instructions did you give
The
the other officers?
I'm sorry. The instructions were to. There was 5 people that we were interested in speaking to. There was no probable cause for an arrest. We had no reason to arrest them, but we wanted to talk to them. And the plan was to try to get them all in around the same time, so we could talk to them around the same time. And they were to come voluntarily with the FDLE agents, so nobody was under arrest. They were going to go out, reach out to them, and see if they would accompany them back to the FDLE office.
Did you want to talk to these people?
Absolutely.
Did you want police officers from the agency in Fort Myers to handcuff them and bring them in?
No, they were not to be handcuffed.
Well, why didn't you want them to be handcuffed?
First of all, they weren't under arrest. And number 2, I don't know if these people were involved. I wanted them to talk to me. So I wanted to bring them in under the simplest way possible without upsetting them or spooking them, for lack of a better term. So what I wanted them was for them to talk to me, and I wanted to make it as easy.
Are these the instructions that you gave to the agency?
The main instruction was they're not under arrest. Make sure they come voluntarily. These are people we want to talk to. And
what did you tell them to do if the people did not want to come in voluntarily?
let them walk, leave, and then we would address that individual at a later time and see how we could make contact with that person.
All right, so if someone didn't want to come in voluntarily, would you just have continued your investigation and taken another step in speculation? Was that your plan? Is that what you told them?
Yes.
All right. Did you want to talk to Eric Rivera?
Absolutely.
Did you see Eric Rivera that day?
Yes, sir, I did.
Do you see him today?
Yes, sir, I do.
Please point to him if you see him and describe an article of clothing that he's wearing.
He's wearing a blue long-sleeve shirt without a tie, sitting next to counsel at the table.
Indicating for the record the defendant. So tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury the circumstances in which you saw Mr. Rivera for the first time that day. Firstly, about what time was that?
1:41 in the morning.
And where were you?
I was at the FDLE office. They have it's like a big office space there, and I was just waiting, basically.
So when members of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and or the Fort Myers Police Department went out to try to locate people, did you go out with them?
No, I did not.
And you remained at FDLA?
Yes, sir.
How were you dressed?
We usually wear shirts and ties that day since it was an out-of-town trip, and we have been up for a long time. I was wearing jeans and a polo shirt.
So tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury the circumstances in which you saw Mr. Rivera for the first time at FDLA.
I was in the office shortly before he arrived. One of the people helping us out from Fort Myers called in to say that they were almost at the office. That they were almost at the office with Eric Rivera. And shortly thereafter, maybe a couple minutes after, he walked in through one of the side doors of the office with one of the agents, one of the officers.
All right, let's take a moment. You said the time?
1:41 a.m.
1:41?
Yes, sir. 11:41, I'm sorry.
11:41 in the morning?
Yes.
All right, let's take a moment and talk a little bit more about FDLA. What kind of building is it?
It's a commercial building. It's a commercial on the grounds of the small plane airport in Fort Myers. Forgot the name of the airport now. But if you look at it from the outside, it looks just like an office building, and the interior as well. It's a very large conference room per se, and maybe like a quarter of it is divided with small cubicles for the agents that were working there to do their work. There's several long tables throughout the open space, and there was one conference room about twice the size of the jury box inside the building that had glass windows where you can see inside the rest of the office space.
All right, so you were saying, where was Eric Rivera when you first saw him?
He came into that same office space through one of the side, not through the main front door, through the side door where the cars were parked.
Was he carried in?
No, he was not carried in. He walked in.
Was anyone touching him?
No.
Was he handcuffed?
No.
So what happened when he came inside the building?
I immediately recognized him, so I approached him. I introduced myself to him. My partner at the time, Detective Belly, was with me, and I just basically asked him, told him I wanted to talk to him, and we walked into the conference room that was right next to where we were standing.
Did you touch him?
No, never.
Did you handcuff him?
No.
Did you pat him down?
No.
How was Detective Bellew dressed?
He was wearing a shirt and tie.
So you said you went to a conference room.
Yes, sir.
And describe the conference room that you went to with Detective Bellew and the defendant.
It's about twice the length of the jury box. About maybe a little wider. There was a large conference table inside. There were several chairs. There was a phone on top of the table, a landline. There was a small fridge, a TV, and some other artifacts consistent with being in an office. I don't remember what they were.
Were there any windows?
Yes.
Were there blinds on the windows?
Yes.
Were they open or closed?
They were open.
So did anyone sit down in the room?
Yes. Sir Rivera, myself, and Detective Bellew did.
And what happened when you sat down? Did you begin a discussion with him?
Yes.
All right, well, let's talk about that. Did you see a cell phone?
Yes, he was actually holding it in his hand.
What did Mr. Rivera do with the cell phone?
When he sat down on the table, he placed it in front of him on the table.
And did you do anything with the cell phone?
Yes, sir.
What did you do?
I put my hand on it and I slid it away from him to the other side of the table.
Why did you do that?
When you interview people, you want them to pay attention to you, you want to talk to them, and the last thing you want is, calls are coming in, they start fidgeting with the phone, so just so he will focus on our conversation. So I just moved it away from him.
How did the discussion begin with Mr. Rivera?
It actually just started, Detective Bellew, just before we even asked him anything, Detective Bellew told him that before we spoke to him, that we had to read him his Miranda rights, and Detective Bellew proceeded to do so.
Were there any preliminary questions asked to him?
Yes.
And what were those?
We always ask the same questions, educational background, last grade completed, whether he can read and write in English, whether he has any medical or psychological problems, whether he's under the influence of drugs or alcohol, how many hours he slept the night before, those kinds of questions.
Was that information written on the Miranda form?
It's written on the top of the Miranda form, yes, sir.
All right, let me show you what's been marked for identification purposes as State Exhibit number 5B. Ask you if you recognize this. Is this the form that was used to advise the defendant of his Miranda rights?
Yes, it is.
How did Detective Bellew do that? You said he asked him some preliminary information.
Correct.
He asked the defendant his name and date of birth.
Yes, sir.
And so what did the defendant tell him?
He told him that he was a junior at Florida Christian High School, that he could read and write in English, that he was not under the influence of drugs or alcohol, that he had not slept because he was on the television and on the telephone playing games the night before. And then Detective Bellew asked him to read the first line out loud so that we could determine his ability to read and understand what he was reading.
So you said date of birth. What date of birth did he get?
4/4/1990.
So that's about 4 months shy of 18?
Yes, sir.
That would be 17.
Correct.
And about 8 months.
Yes, sir.
Did he say he was too sleepy to talk?
No, never.
Was he asked about that?
Yes, I did ask him.
All right, so explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury how the defendant was advised of his constitutional rights.
The first thing we did, we asked him to read the first line out loud, like I said, and that's to make sure that he can read and that he understands what he's reading. And that from that point on, Detective Bellew went line by line, starting with number 1. And after reading each line, we'd ask him, do you understand that right? And if he did, if he said yes, then he would initial next to the yes on the Miranda form. And then we went to the next right, and we continued on the whole way down to the end of the form. At the bottom of the form, it says, knowing these rights, are you now willing to answer my questions without having a lawyer present? He said yes, and again he initialized next to the yes.
And did Detective Bellew sign?
Yes.
Did you sign as a witness?
Yes, sir.
And the state used to offer this in evidence as the next state exhibit.
All right, will be admitted. This will mark out identification by June 9, 2023.
Detective, you got a copy of the form?
Of the Miranda form?
Yes.
I do, sir.
Which paper now, please? So let's review for a moment. What was the first thing that he said to him?
Well, right after he signed Miranda, he
Let's get back to how he's advised of his Miranda rights. What is read to him and what is on the form?
it's read exactly off the form. That's how you're asking me?
Yes.
Want to go one by one?
Yes.
Okay. The first one says, you have a right to remain silent, and you do not have to talk to me if you do not wish to do so.
What does it say above that?
Before you are asked any questions, you must understand the following rights.
All right, and then right number one.
You have a right to remain silent, and you do not have to talk to me if you do not wish to do so. You do not have to answer any of my questions. Do you understand that right?
And did he say whether he understood the right or not?
He said he understood it, and he initialed yes.
What's the next right?
Number two, should you talk to me, anything which you might say may be introduced into evidence in court against you. Do you understand? And he said he understood, and he initialed next to the respective yes.
The next right?
If you want a lawyer to be present during questioning at this time or any time hereafter, you're entitled to have a lawyer present. Do you understand that right? He acknowledged that he understood that right, and he initialed next to the yes. And number four reads, if you cannot afford to pay for a lawyer, one will be provided for you at no cost if you want one. Do you understand that right? He acknowledged that he understood it, and he initialed next to the yes. And then the next line says, knowing these rights, are you now willing to answer my questions without having a lawyer present? He said he did, and he initialed next to the yes. And the next line reads, this statement is signed of my own free will, without any threats or promises having been made to me. And the defendant then actually signed his whole name on the paper and dated it 11/30/2007 at 11:56 a.m.
Had you had any contact with his parents?
No, not at this point.
Why not?
Well, number one, he wasn't under arrest. He was there voluntarily. He was free to leave whenever he wanted.
How would he know that?
He was told that. We told him that immediately. As soon as we finished reading Miranda, as a matter of fact, we afforded him a chance to call a parent, and he flat out said he did not want to talk to anybody.
So after that initial discussion with him, in which you told him that he was free to leave and gave him an opportunity to contact a parent, did you begin to ask him questions about what took place?
Yes,
Who did most of the talking with the defendant?
I did.
So what did you ask him first?
The first questions, we first offered him a bathroom. We told him he had access to the bathroom and meal breaks, beverage breaks, and a chance to use the phone if he wanted to. And after he declined all of those at first, I then asked him what he was doing on the weekend of November 25th and 26th of 2007.
And what did he tell you initially?
He said he thought he was home all weekend. He remembers staying home, and possibly he might have gone to the movies at the Bell Tower movie theater in Fort Myers, along with his girlfriend Trey. Then he remembered with his mom and possibly 2 or 3 of his girlfriend's sisters.
All right, so you had said that he entered the Florida Department of Law Enforcement at about 11:41.
Yes, sir.
And at what time does he sign his Miranda form?
11:56.
All right, so you've begun your discussion with him.
Yes.
And you've asked him where he was the weekend before, and you just told the jury what information he gave you.
Yes.
Did you ask him whether he had ever been in Miami?
I did. He said he thought he had been there over a year ago, and then he suddenly remembered that he thought he had been there maybe like 2 weeks earlier with his cousin to the area of Carroll City in Miami because they were going to go see a dentist to get gold teeth.
What else did you ask him about?
I asked him if he knew 2 people, one by the name of Jason Mitchell and one by the name of Scott Mitchell. He denied knowing who those people were.
Did you ask him about any other friends in particular?
I asked him about if he knew who Sean Taylor was.
And what did you say about that?
He said he knew who he was because he knew Sean Taylor's sister and knew Sean Taylor's sister's boyfriend, who was a nephew of a good friend of his.
Did he say anything else about Sean Taylor initially?
I asked him if he knew anything else about Sean Taylor, if he knew anything that might have happened to Sean Taylor, He said no, and then he said, "Oh wait, I think I heard he was dead, that he died."
Did he tell you who he was friends with?
He was very good friends with the victim's sister's boyfriend's uncle, Charles Wardlow.
So, the victim's sister's...
The victim's sister's boyfriend's uncle, correct.
All right, so Charles Wardlow is who? Related to what person?
Devon Wardlow.
All right, so he told you he was good friends with Charles Wardlow?
Yes.
And where was Charles Wardlow at that time?
He was already in our office, probably, or arriving at our office at that time.
What did you ask him next?
Again, I asked him if he remembered anything about him. He said he thought that he had heard on the news that Mr. Taylor was dead. I asked him again to think hard. I told him, it's kind of difficult to believe that, there was only a couple days ago that I'm asking you about, that you wouldn't remember such a significant event as going down to Miami or driving down to Miami. It was just a couple hours away. And at that moment he said that, he really couldn't remember much, that weekend was now, kind of fuzzy or hazy, and that he had a bad memory.
So you're talking with him on what day?
This is on the 30th of November.
All right, and you're asking him about what he was doing on what days were you asking him about?
Well, it was specifically the 27th, the morning of the 27th, but I'm asking him about the weekend of the 25th and the 26th, because the 25th would have been Friday, just that weekend.
All right, so the homicide occurs on what day?
On the 27th.
You had your report with you?
I do. I'm sorry, on the 26th, November 26th.
All right, and that's a what?
That was a Monday morning.
All right, so you're asking him about the weekend leading into Monday morning, which is how many days before you're literally talking?
Well, on the 30th, so 3-4 days.
And he's telling you he has what kind of a memory? Where did he first tell you he was that weekend?
He told me he was home the whole weekend first. He never left the house. And then he said that, well, he remembered he might have gone to the movies with his girlfriend and his mom and her sisters. And then he said that, well, that weekend's a blur now. I don't remember too much. I don't have a good memory.
What was your tone of voice with him?
The same way I'm talking now. I was talking to him soft. I wanted him to talk to me, and I was happy that he was actually talking to me.
Did you ever give him a break?
Yes.
When did that happen for the first time?
Right after that, at 12:10, I offered him food and beverage breaks. Initially he declined, and then I don't know if he saw it because you could see right through the glass window into the conference room. That happened to be at that moment they were bringing pizza. We hadn't eaten all day, and somebody in the FDLE office purchased pizza and a couple liters of Coke, and then he said he wanted pizza, and we gave him pizza and Coke, Coca-Cola.
Had he ever said he didn't want to talk with you?
No, never.
Did you say he wanted to talk with a parent?
No, in fact, on that break again, I offered him another chance after, along with the bathroom break and the meal break, if you want to use a phone or call anybody. He said no.
Did he ask you about anything that was going on with any other people?
Yeah, at one point, he asked me who else was in the office with him. And I asked him, what do you mean, who else is in the office with you? And he thought for a second. He said, never mind.
All right, so you met him at 11:41. You stopped talking to him at around 12:10?
Yes, sir.
And when you offered him a break, did you stay in the room with him?
No, I exited, and then I got him pizza, I got him Coke, whatever he wanted to drink. I took it inside the room, and we left him in the room, and I exited the conference room.
What did Detective Elliott do?
He was with me outside, or eating and getting information from other investigators at that time.
What about the door to the room?
That door remained open to the conference room. That way we could see him inside the conference room, and also the blinds were open as well.
Is there anything that prevented the defendant from getting up and walking out of that room?
No, no, not at all. In fact, the door he came in through was right next to the area where we were sitting.
The landline telephone that was sitting on the table, did you pick that up and carry it away with you?
No, that stayed on the top of the table the whole time.
What about his cell phone?
His cell phone stayed next to the landline on top of the table the whole time.
So is there anything that prevented him from picking up either one of those telephones and making a telephone call if he wished to do so?
No, not at all.
How long did the break last?
It lasted an hour and 10 minutes. At 1:20 p.m., Detective Belly and I re-entered the interview room.
Prior to re-entering the interview room, was there a Detective Harmony?
Yes.
That deal in?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what he was doing?
He was interviewing one of the other people that was in the office.
Do you remember which one?
Yes, Mitchell. Jason Mitchell.
Was there a Detective Goldston at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
Yes, sir.
What was he doing?
He was interviewing Charles Wardlow at that time.
All right, so the interview between you and Detective Value and the defendant begins again at 1:20?
Yes, sir.
All right. What are the first words that are basically spoken when you re-enter the room?
The first words were actually the defendant thanking us for the food and for the soda. He said he felt much better after eating.
Then how did you begin the discussion again after that?
I asked him to think back again. It wasn't a question. I go, listen, think back again to the weekend that we asked you about. Think very hard. And I kind of told him, listen, some of the things you're telling us aren't consistent with what we know. So think back and make sure what you're telling us is accurate, and try to remember that weekend as best that you can.
And did you respond to that?
Yes, he just he nodded his head and was listening to everything I was saying. And then he, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And then he basically told us that if he didn't remember, he wasn't going to say anything to get himself in trouble if he didn't have a clear memory of what happened that weekend.
Did he ever tell you he didn't want to talk to you at all anymore?
No, never.
Did he ever say he wanted a lawyer?
Never.
Or a parent?
Never.
He's telling you that he doesn't want to say something that he doesn't remember clearly?
Correct.
And how many days before was that?
4 days before.
And you would ask him about whether he had traveled to where?
To Miami.
Is that far from Fort Myers?
2.5 hours, depending on how you drive.
So what did you say at that point?
Well, at this point, I tell him that, listen, you've given us some information, and it's very easy to verify. You told us you went to the movies with your mom, with your girlfriend. We're going to ask him. It's going to be very easy to verify all this information. And as I was telling him this, he got very upset, and he snapped at me. And he said, if I wanted my mom involved, I would have called her.
So what did you say to him?
I told him that the lies that I explained to him that when you tell lies, it becomes very difficult to keep track of your lies. When you're talking to someone for any period of time, you're not going to remember what you said 10 minutes earlier, and it just begins to compound. And when I informed him of this, I'm sorry, it appeared to upset him that I told him this.
How did he appear when he first came in?
He was very open, very relaxed, probably the best way I can put it. He was eager to talk to us, because the first thing he asked us right after Miranda was what we wanted to talk to him about.
And after you told him you were going to check with his mother, how was he acting?
He now, for the first time, he kind of looks away from me. Up to this point, he's making eye contact with me. And now he kind of looks down on the table like this. And I noticed that he was rubbing his hands and moving both legs or feet up and down like this. So he appeared to me like he was nervous.
So when he starts looking down, what did you say to him?
I wanted to see what he was. I wanted to see his facial expressions. I wanted to see if I was getting a reaction. So I told him, listen, when I'm talking to you, do me a favor, look at me in the eyes, look up. And he would acknowledge when I would talk to him. So he was nodding his head, but he still wouldn't look up at me, look at me in the eyes.
Why did you want to look at his eyes? As an experienced detective who's talking to someone about a homicide investigation, why would you want to be able to look at someone's eyes when you're speaking?
Because I can tell a lot by looking at someone in the eyes.
You may continue, Mr. Rivera.
All right, you were saying that you asked the defendant to do what?
To look at me in the eyes.
Did Detective Bellew talk with him a little bit?
He did.
Was the defendant responding right away?
And that's the first time I noticed that his eyes actually got watery at that point.
Did you, and you just asked him to look into your eyes?
Correct.
Did he ever say you didn't want to talk anymore?
Never.
Did he ever say you wanted a parent or a lawyer or anything like that?
Never.
You had mentioned that Detective Carmody was talking to Jason Mitchell.
Yes,
Did you see Jason Mitchell that morning?
I did.
When did you see Jason Mitchell?
It was roughly around this time right now that the defendant's looking down the table, and I'm trying to see if I get some kind of reaction out of him, where I saw Detective Carmody walk by our interview room with Jason Mitchell.
Did they make eye contact?
Yes, I did.
And how was the defendant acting after he saw Jason Mitchell with Detective Carmody?
That was the when I believe that a lot of his demeanor changed, for lack of a better term. That's when I believe he started getting more nervous, and that's when he broke eye contact with me at that point.
What else was he doing?
Rubbing his hands together. He was looking down. Up to this point, he was sitting up normal, talking to me, talking one-on-one, very relaxed. Now he's looking down at the table, on the floor, at the table. He's playing with his hands. He's rubbing them, and he's moving both legs to look at me in the eyes the whole time.
Did Detective Bellew say, and Detective Bellew talk with
Yes,
What
he
did
did.
Detective Bellew say to him?
Detective Bellew told the defendant that,
If that's one of those.
and that's the first time I noticed that his eyes actually got watery
He said
at that point.
Okay. Okay, next question.
Did you, and just letting you just ask him to look into your eyes?
Correct.
Did he ever say you didn't want to talk to him?
Never.
Did he ever say you weren't a parent or a lawyer or anything like that?
Never.
Mentioned that Detective Carmody was talking to Jason Mitchell.
Yes,
Did you see Jason Mitchell that morning?
I did.
When did you see Jason?
It was roughly around this time right now that the defendant's looking down the table, and I'm trying to see if I get some kind of reaction out of him, where I saw Detective Carmody walk by our interview room with Jason Mitchell.
Did you make eye contact?
Yes, I did.
And how was the defendant acting after he saw Jason Mitchell with
That-
Detective Carmody?
That was the when I believe that a lot of his demeanor changed, for lack of a better term. That's when I believe he started getting more nervous, and that's when he broke eye contact with me at that point.
What else was he doing?
Rubbing his hands together. He was looking down. Up to this point, he was sitting up normal, talking to me, talking one-on-one, very relaxed. Now he's looking down at the table, at the floor, at the table. He's playing with his hands. He's rubbing them, and he's moving both legs and feet up and down the whole time.
Did Detective Bellew say anything to him about that?
Yes.
What did Detective Bellew say to him?
Detective Bellew told the defendant that
He said something. Okay. Okay, next question.
Can we just You had said earlier that the defendant had asked you who else was at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement before the break.
Yes, sir.
So now he has seen Jason Mitchell,
Correct.
and he was in a car with Charles Wardlaw.
Yes.
So now let's forward to what was said to the defendant after he began behaving the way that you described to the jury, and after seeing Mr. Mitchell. What did Detective Bellew say to the defendant?
Detective Bellew informed the defendant that the death of the victim, Sean Taylor, a national football player, star, was a tragedy, and that Mr. Taylor was a hero to youth all across America. He told him that Mr. Taylor was not a drug dealer, he was not hurting anybody, he was a good person. He was merely at his house sleeping with his baby and with his girlfriend when a group of individuals decided to prey on him and victimize him and kill him. At this point, Mr. Rivera, again, the defendant, looked down at the table again, and Detective Bellew asked him, I told him that I understand that it's very difficult to admit being involved in something so severe and so tragic, but if you're involved, at least nod your head now and let us know that you were involved. And at that point, the defendant looked up at us and nodded his head in a positive manner.
After he nodded his head, did you begin to ask him
Yes.
So you said first what he said. What did you ask him? Who else?
I just told him, go ahead and tell us what happened now. Just be honest and tell us the truth. And the first thing that came out of his mouth was Devon had nothing to do with it. Devon would have been the victim, Sean's victim, sister's boyfriend.
When he nods his head, so now it's forward and begins to give details. Did you know what was said?
I did. It was right. It was approximation. At that moment, I'm so enthralled with the conversation I'm having with him that, but I can tell you it was right around 2:15 in the afternoon. Detective Bellew informed the defendant that the death of the victim, Sean Taylor, the national football player, star, was a tragedy, and that Mr. Taylor was a hero. It was 1:56 p.m. across America. He told him that Mr. Taylor was not a drug dealer, he was not hurting anybody, he was a good person. Yes. He was merely at his house, sleeping with his baby and with his girlfriend, when a group of individuals decided to prey on him and victimize him. Right after the break at 1:20 p.m. At this point, yes, again, the defendant went down at the table again, and Detective Bellew asked him, I told him that I understand that it's very difficult to admit being involved in something so severe and so tragic, but if you're involved, at least nod your head now. He says Jason set the whole thing up, and at that point, and we drove down to Miami. We were going to steal some money. He had heard that the victim would have between $100,000 and $200,000 in his house at all times, and they were going to go burglarize the house and steal the money. Yes.
So did he say anything about how they got it? What did you ask him?
Yes. He told me that him and the co-defendants drove in a black SUV. He was the driver, the defendant was the driver. Devon had nothing to do with it. That's how they got down to the victim's house. Devon would have been the victim, Sean's victim, sister's boyfriend.
What they did when they got to the victim's house?
Yes.
What did you say?
It says they parked. He was very specific about where they parked. I did. It was right. I was trying to it was approximation. At that moment, I'm so on the road. All the conversation I'm having with him. He told me he parked, but I can tell you it was right around 2:15 in the afternoon. And when he said that, I knew exactly what he was referring to. And then proceeded to exit the car, and they all jumped over the concrete wall in front of the victim's house.
On the way down.
I'm sorry. Yes, it was 1:56 p.m. Yes. Said he said Timmy Lee Brown was sitting to the right of him. Somebody else was sleeping. They were talking on the phone. They even made a stop to get gas at one of the gas stations. Right after the break at 1:20 p.m. Yes, he did.
So it's about 36 minutes.
Yes. He mentioned Jason Mitchell.
Where was Jason Mitchell?
In the office. In our office being interviewed at that time.
Besides Jason Mitchell, who else did you get details about?
Devon, Charles Wardlow. He says Jason set the whole thing up, being interviewed in our office. And, we drove down to Miami. We were going to steal some money. Timmy Lee Brown and Ben heard that the victim would have between $100,000 and $200,000 in his house at all times. and they were going to go burglarize the house and steal the money.
And you said parked on the concrete. What happened after they parked on the concrete?
Yes, he told me that he explained to me how they actually drove, which side of the house they walked on. He told me he went on the side of the house where the boat was located, which I immediately knew what he was talking about. He says they went to the back of the house and they proceeded to then pry a door open that led to the pool, so in the back patio area.
Since they parked,
He said Jason
very
pried it open.
specific about where they parked. Right, I was trying to figure out if they parked in the grass or on the road.
Yeah, if I can refer for 1
He
second.
told me he parked on the concrete right by the gate. And when he said that, I knew exactly what he was referring to. And then
I just
proceeded
heard.
to exit the car, and they all jumped over
sorry,
the
it was-
concrete wall in front of the victim's house.
On the way down, did you say what people were doing?
Yes. He said Timmy Lee Brown was sitting to the right of him. Somebody else was sleeping. They were talking on the phone. They even made a stop to get gas at one of the gas stations.
Did he tell you who he went with to Miami?
Yes, he did.
And who was that?
He mentioned Jason Mitchell
Where was Jason Mitchell at that time? In general.
in the office, in our office being interviewed at that time.
Besides Jason Mitchell, who else did he say he was?
Charles Wardlow
And where was Charles Wardlow?
being interviewed in our office.
And who else did he say he was?
Timmy Lee Brown and Benja Hunt.
Have they been located yet?
No.
So, when he got to Miami and they parked on the concrete, what happened after they parked on the concrete?
He explained to me how they actually, which side of the house they walked on. He told me he went on the side of the house where the boat was located, which I immediately knew what he was talking about. He said they went to the back of the house and they proceeded to then pry a door open that led to the pool, so in the back patio area.
Who did you say pried the door?
He said Jason pried it open.
Did you note in your report who pried the door open?
Yeah, if I can refer for 1 second.
Do you need to refresh your recollection of your report?
I do, sir. I'm sorry. It was,
Detective, did you write a report?
I did.
Do you need to refresh your recollection by looking at your report and discussing who it was that the defendant told you pried the door open?
Yes, sir.
And have you done that?
Yes, sir.
And who did the defendant say pried the door open?
Charles Wardlow.
Did he say what happened after the door was pried open?
Yes.
What's that?
They entered the residence, and then they made an immediate left into the house and began to look in the rooms, looking for stuff.
Let me stop you for just a moment and ask you, did he say what Charles was doing for part of the time on the way between Fort Myers and Miami?
He was on the phone,
And what else was he doing?
asking for directions.
Are we talking about Charles?
We're talking about Jason Mitchell.
All right, let's talk about Charles for just a moment. What did he say Charles was doing some of the time on the way down?
Just basically planning how they were going to do the whole operation once they got to the house.
All right, let's talk about what happens when they get inside the house.
Okay.
So you said they got inside and they did what?
They went left first, he said. They looked in some bedrooms, and then began to look through the rest of the house. He told me the lights were on inside the house. And at some point, somebody heard a noise, and they all ran out of the house. They got spooked, so they ran out of the house.
And where did they run to?
They ran back into the car that was parked in front of the house. And once they made it back inside the car, Timmy Lee Brown said, "Man, it was me that made that noise." They all said, "Oh, it was Timmy Lee." So now they decided to exit the car again and go back into the house again. Yes, sir.
What did you say happened when you went back inside the house? How did you say?
They went back in the house, and at some point, now he's standing in front of the victim's bedroom's door, and he proceeds to kick the door in.
What happened after the door was open? Let's
Yes.
go back a little bit. What's that?
They entered the residence, and then they made an immediate left into the house and began to look in the rooms, looking for stuff. A gun. He had it in his right hand to his side the whole time. He was on the phone.
You said they came to a door.
Asking for directions.
And what happened when they were at the door? Is there any discussion about
You're talking about Jason Mitchell. Yeah, at one point he's standing in front of the door. He says he knew the door was locked already because they had tried to open it earlier. So they knew the door was locked. And at that point he proceeds to kick the door in. Basically planning how they were going to do the whole operation once they got to the house. As soon as he kicked the door in, he says he saw Sean Taylor running out of the bedroom. He had something in his hand. He went left first, he said. And at this point, looked at some bedrooms, lifted up the firearm, and shot to look through the rest of the house. He told me the lights were on inside the house. And at some point, somebody heard a noise, and they all ran out of the house. He always said it was Sean Taylor out of the house. When he first talked to me, he wasn't sure who it was, and then he realized it was Sean Taylor in front of the house. And once they made it back inside the car, Timothy Brown said, man, he says he knew he hit him in the leg, in the area of the leg. They all said, oh. He says the victim fell immediately to exit the car again and go back into the house again. He now begins to exit to the hallway. And he says as soon as he came out of the hallway, now he saw the sliding glass door. The victim's bedroom. He didn't want to go out the same way he came in because he said it was too far down the house and he wanted to get out quick. So he took a gun and he shot the sliding glass door of the back of the house, shattering the glass, and exited that way. A gun.
Had in fact the sliding glass door of the house been broken?
Yes.
All the details.
He had it in his right hand to his side the whole time.
Been made public?
Nothing about the death of the victim had ever been made public up to that point.
What happened? What did he say after they exited the house?
Yeah, at one point he's standing in front of the door. He says he ran to the left again. He knew the door was locked already because they had tried to open it earlier. They jumped back in the car, and this time he was not the driver. He jumped in the back seat. And now they begin to head back home, back to Fort Myers. As soon as he kicked the door in, he says he saw Sean Taylor running out of the bedroom. Yes, they begin to discuss in his hand. They can't say anything. And at this point, his mouth shut. Lift up the fire at one point and shot. He takes the gun. He wipes it. They wipe it down. Put it inside a sock, one of his socks, and they pull over somewhere off of Alligator Alley. He never said. He always said it was. He says he got out of the car and put the gun inside the sock. When he first talked to me, he wasn't sure who it was, and then he realized into the Everglades. I asked him how he knew it was, with water. He says he heard the actual splash of the gun. Says he knew he hit him in the leg, in the area of the leg. He says the victim fell immediately, very rapidly. Initially, they first made a stop in some gas station to gas again. And he says as soon as he came out the hallway, and he saw the sliding glass door, clothing and evidence. He didn't want to go out burning when he came in field because he said it was too far. And then they went to a girl Ariel's house. Quick. So he took a gun and he shot the sliding glass door of the back of the house. From there, everybody went breaking separate ways, shattering the glass, and exited that way.
Before they talked to sliding glass door, he began to give them these details.
Yes.
After 1:56 in the afternoon, did you find Sean Taylor's house?
I had no idea. Nothing about the death of the victim had ever been made public at that point. No.
What did he say after they exited the house? Where did they go?
He says he ran to the left again, like where the boat was. No, not at all. Jumped back in the car, and this time he was not the driver. He jumped in the back seat, and now they begin to head back home, back to Fort Myers. Not yet.
What did he say happened? Did you know there was a black SUV?
Yes, they begin to discuss how they can't say anything, keep your mouth shut. And at one point, he takes the gun, he wipes it, they wipe it down, put it inside a sock, one of his socks, and they pull over somewhere off of Alligator Alley. He says he got out of the car. At one point, he was trying to explain to me where they parked the car, which way they went into the Everglades. I gave him a piece of paper and a pen, and he actually drew a diagram of the front of the house. He showed me exactly where they parked, where he jumped the wall, which path he took, where he entered the house. Initially, and then he showed me the diagram stop at some gas station for gas, but inside the house, where he was standing in relation to where the victim was standing, clothing and evidence by burning it in some field. and then they went to a girl, Ariel's house.
Did you keep that diagram?
Absolutely.
And where did they go? After you drew the diagram.
From there, everybody went their separate ways for the night. Sign it, put the date and the time on it that he drew the diagram.
And did you also interview?
Yes, sir. I had no idea.
Did you know that money from the Everglades?
No.
Is this the diagram we're talking about?
Yes, sir, it is.
Did you know exactly what everyone had done inside the house? State news,
No,
this is
not at all.
evidence, that's the next state exhibit.
No.
Did you have the sun pass?
Not yet.
Did you know there was a black SUV involved? Yeah.
No.
So, besides. And what time did he do that?
At 2:15 p.m.
Exactly what happened inside Sean Keller's house?
I did.
So you met him at 11:41.
At one point, he was trying to explain to me where
May
they
I
parked
take
the
this over,
car,
Mr. Jury, take a
which
look
way
at
they
it?
went in. So I gave him a piece of paper and with a pen, and he actually drew a diagram of the front of the house. He showed me exactly where he parked, where he jumped the wall, which path he took, where he entered the house, and then he showed me a diagram, or they're stick figures, but inside the house, where he was standing in relation to where the victim was standing when he shot him. At 2:15 p.m.
So you met him at 11:41. May I take this over and let the jury take a look at it a second? Let me back this up a second and ask you to step down and let's take a look at this for a moment. Firstly, who wrote all of that?
The defendant.
Doesn't work too well on the screen. What did he draw at the top of the diagram?
That's the wall. This will be the front of the residence right here.
And what is depicted in the middle of the diagram?
This is the actual house here, the actual structure of the house. This will be the front lawn driveway area here.
And over here on the left, what's the jury's facing it? Well, it would be the juror's right.
This here was a boat that the victim owned that was parked on the side of the house.
Did he draw that?
Yes.
In the back of the house?
This is very accurate. As you make a right there, this is where the whole pool area was, and where there was forced entry to the back door of the residence.
So he actually drew on a diagram where they entered the residence.
Yes, sir.
And in fact, is that where the door was pried open?
Yes, sir.
What else did he draw on there?
He showed me it once, and the second time when he finally came in, he went straight to the right of the house, and this is where the victim's bedroom was. And this is the hallway leading to the front door, or the door to a master bedroom. And this is where he's standing. This is the door that he kicked. He says kick door, and makes a line here. And then he writes Sean, being the victim, where he was standing when he shot him.
And you know, Besides seeing the kicked door, who did he say kicked the door down?
He did.
And he wrote the word Sean.
Yes.
And who did he say shot him?
He says he shot him, and he wrote me next to the little stick figure that represents him.
Wrote the word me.
Correct.
All right, you could take the witness stand. So he's drawn this diagram for you. Did you ask him anything about the kind of attire he was wearing?
I did, sir.
What did you ask him?
I specifically asked him what kind of shoes he was wearing the night that they broke into the house.
Did he tell you?
Yeah, he told me he was wearing Nike Shox.
Why did you ask him that question?
During the crime, when we were processing the crime scene, and we were able to determine that the door to the victim's bedroom was kicked in, we were able to see a print, what appeared to us at the time to be the print of a shoe on the door where it was actually kicked in.
Did you know a man named John Mancini?
Absolutely.
Did he give you anything?
He did.
Let me show you what's been moved in evidence to state exhibit number 62. Do you recognize this?
Yes, sir, I do.
Is that what John Mancini gave you?
Yes, sir.
And what is it?
It's the actual, it's a photograph of the shoes that he identified had kicked the door in at the victim's residence.
Well, Detective Segovia, is that a sample from the internet of the kind of shoe that may have been worn during the course of the crime?
Yes, it's a photograph from the internet with that model sneaker.
And what did you do with this photograph after the defendant told you he was wearing Nike Shox?
After he told me he was wearing Nike Shox, I pulled it out of my file and I showed it to him. I go, "Well, these are the same shoes you were wearing." And he was appeared to be very amused that he goes, "Yeah, those are exactly the shoes I was wearing."
Show the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Let me display it first, and I'm going to ask you to show them how you displayed it to the defendant.
Okay.
All right, as it sits now on the projector, you can see a heading from the internet on the top, a picture of some shoes with some writing next to it, and underneath is written, "Suspect outsole design from electric box top on south side of driveway with a case number and John Mancini's card." Did the defendant see that when you showed him the photograph?
No, sir.
Show the ladies and gentlemen of the jury how you showed it to them.
May I pull it out of the sleeve? Actually, you can still see the crease. I actually had it folded like this, like you want to read what was written at the bottom. So I just showed him the photograph just like that. He couldn't see this part here. I showed it to him like that.
And what did he say when you can set that. What did he say when you showed that to him?
He like I said, he appeared to be amused at the fact that we knew what kind of shoes he was wearing. He said, "Yeah, these are the same shoes I was wearing." He was almost like excited almost.
Did you ask him to do anything to memorialize that?
I asked him to just write next to the photograph what that photo was of, and then he again signed the bottom and put the date and the time on it.
And when you asked him to write what it was a photograph of, what did he write?
He wrote, "This, the one that I was wearing."
And did he sign it?
Yes, sir.
Did he put a time on it?
Yes, sir.
And what was the time?
If I could see it on the, I don't have it in front of me. 2:17 p.m.
We talked a little bit earlier about whether Tim Brown had been located yet or not. Had he been located yet?
No, sir.
Did you show him anything related to Tim Brown?
I did.
What did you show him?
I showed him a single photograph of Timmy Lee Brown to see if he could identify him, to make sure that was the person they were referring to.
Let me show you what's been marked for identification purposes. At this time, it's state exhibit number 5W. Do you recognize this?
Yes, sir.
What's that a photograph of?
It's a picture of the co-defendant Timmy Lee Brown.
And did he recognize the photograph?
He did. He identified him as such.
As Mr. Brown. Did he sign it and put the time on it?
He did, sir.
Move this into evidence as the next state exhibit?
No, sir. You did me? It's given up by application 5. W, not going to be given by the name.
Did you show him all the license? I see that this is folded.
Yes.
Was it folded that way when you showed it to him?
It was, yes.
So was he able to see the name when he first did? Well, I guess. So you showed him just the photograph?
Yes, sir.
Not the other side of it?
Correct.
And that was at 210?
I think it was 217, I believe.
217. May I have a second, please?
Oh, you're right, 2:10 p.m.
After he has explained this to you, he being the defendant, what did you do?
Once he finishes the gist of the story, and now he's confessed to being a shooter, I immediately exited the interview room. My sergeant was standing right outside the conference room, and I advised my sergeant at the time that he had just confessed, and to please begin to notify his parents or his family members.
Did you continue to talk with him off and on for a little while after that?
Yes, it was no longer, he had just told us a story basically, so it was no longer, was I sitting in front of him having an interview, but I came in several times to ask him specific questions about things that I wanted to know about.
Did you give him any breaks?
Sure, yes, it did.
And when was that?
The next break that he took, if I may refer to my report for a second.
Do you need to look at that and see the time?
Yes, sir, just for the exact time. At 3 p.m.
And what kind of break was he on?
A bathroom break. We offered him something to drink. He had just eaten not too long before that. And we offered him a chance to use the phone again.
And did he want to use the phone?
No, he never used the phone.
Just sitting there?
At this point, he's just sitting there, yes, sir.
Did you ask him again whether he wanted to contact his family like that?
Yes, sir.
And what did he say?
He says, I don't want to talk to anybody in my family.
But had you already made arrangements for someone to go ahead and contact his family anyway?
Yes.
So you said that you would come in from time to time. Did there come a time when you showed him someone else's photograph?
Yes.
Let me show you what's marked for identification. State exhibit number 5X. Ask you if you recognize this.
Yes, sir, I do.
Is that one of the photographs that you asked him to take a look at?
Yes, sir.
Was he able to recognize the person?
Yes, sir.
Did he sign it, date it, and put a time on it?
Yes, sir, he did.
And who is that person?
That's another one of the co-defendants, Benja Hunt.
Can you guys sidebar for a second?